Welcome to the 39th week of this year's In Times Like These recap. Now let's get into this. Starting with Nichelle Torres, who tells her mother, Isabel, that she's ready to graduate, but struggles to enjoy her senior year after Ulysses' passing. When Nichelle reveals she has no plans to attend college, Isabel is surprised and tries to convince her daughter that college could help her run their hotel, Theodosius's Palace. Nichelle insists she doesn't need college, pointing out that Isabel never went. Despite her concerns, Isabel supports Nichelle's decision, though she reminds her the option is always open. Nichelle, however, is firm in her choice. When Wanda Mitchell asks her daughter Yvette how school went, Yvette expresses that she wished she could have stayed home, still shaken from witnessing Kiev Burke take Ulysses Torres' life. Wanda reminds Yvette that being on probation made skipping school a bad idea, though she acknowledges the probation officer would have likely understood. Yvette hints that others at school are giving her a hard time but avoids discussing it. When Wanda's husband Udell enters, Yvette asks for space. Udell warns Wanda not to push Yvette too hard, but Wanda hopes Yvette will eventually learn to open up. When JJ and Vanessa Dorval return to the estate, JJ asks his older sister why she barely spoke to him. Vanessa reveals she's angry at JJ for making Max feel guilty over Ulysses' passing. JJ argues that Max should feel guilty, but Vanessa reminds him that Kiev is the only one to blame. JJ, burdened by guilt, believes he could have stopped Kiev and prevented the tragedy. As their argument escalates, their mother Shelley intervenes, reminding JJ that blaming others won't help. Though she promises to support him through his pain, JJ insists no one can ease his grief over losing Ulysses. After JJ walks off, Shelley encourages her daughter to pray for him. Vivian Jones tells Isidore Russo that her benefit in helping him take over Russo Jewelers is ensuring the company's future success. Isidore, skeptical, questions what she stands to gain. Vivian explains that she'll gain her way out of the mess she's in, but she won't return Lorenzo's shares until Isidore becomes the head of the company. Isidore notes the difficulty of a hostile takeover, but Vivian assures him she has a plan, convincing the family to hand shares to her, not him. Despite his concerns about the risks, Isidore reluctantly agrees to work with Vivian. Zeke questions Nichelle's decision to take over Theodosius's palace after graduation instead of attending college, wondering if it's influenced by Ulysses' passing. Nichelle assures him it's about making her mark and moving forward. Zeke supports her, though he cautions about the responsibility ahead. Nichelle is confident, feeling ready for the power and challenges after what she's endured. Jeremiah notices Shelley's somber mood, and she expresses concern over JJ's bitterness since Ulysses' passing. While Jeremiah urges patience, reminding Shelley that JJ is still adjusting after his coma, Shelley worries that his attitude is impacting the family, especially after his argument with Vanessa. Jeremiah reassures her, emphasizing the importance of supporting their children through their grief. Isidore asks his mother Clarice if she's noticed anything odd about Lorenzo, explaining that Lorenzo has barely spoken to him. Clarice, confused, says she hasn't noticed but noticed the tension in her family and urges Isidore and Alan to settle their differences. Afterward, Isidore asks Alan if he has noticed anything off, and Alan points out Lorenzo's disappointment over losing part of his inheritance and being involved with the woman who helped end Dante's life. Isidore asks Alan to stay vigilant. Vivian tells Pacho she successfully convinced Isidore to help with the plan to take over Theodosius's palace by turning the family against each other. Pacho is eager to see Isidore embarrassed when she refuses to hand over the Russo Jewelers shares. Vivian cautions that Isidore is sharp, and they discuss keeping Clarice unaware of any family tension. After reflecting on their success, they share a kiss, affirming their partnership. Vivian hands Gianni a project budget, and he complains about Isidore's last-minute demands. They discuss how difficult Isidore can be, with Gianni hinting that showing love to his brother is risky. When Vivian probes further, Gianni shuts down the conversation, unwilling to trust someone who works for Isidore. Despite Vivian's reassurances, she leaves, determined to keep trying to break through Gianni's tough exterior. Ben visits Max at the Russo estate, concerned that Max is blaming himself for Ulysses' passing. Max admits feeling guilty for not recognizing the warning signs with Kiev. Ben tries to comfort him, sharing his own past guilt over their Aunt Elvira's death and urging Max not to carry that burden. Max walks away, still struggling with the weight of the situation. Alan visits his mother, Harley, to share the news of Finnegan's firing as police commissioner. Harley feels it's unfair since Finnegan couldn't defend himself after Keeve's attack, but Alan argues that Finnegan was unfit for the job. When Harley questions his coldness, Alan blames Finnegan for allowing Keeve to hurt Max and believes that if Finnegan wakes up, losing his job might cause him to leave Harley behind. At J. Dorval HVAC Services, Shelley informs Jeremiah that Isaac Pierce will replace Finnegan as the new police commissioner and plans to hold a town meeting. Jeremiah sees this as a positive change, given Finnegan's previous unfitness for the role. Shelley worries about what Finnegan might do if he wakes up and finds out he lost his job. Jeremiah reassures her that Finnegan is powerless now, even if he does wake up, but Shelley remains concerned, especially since Finnegan is Keeve's father. At Global News Press, Quinlan reads about an unidentified girl found in a suitcase and shares her unease with her boyfriend Ben, who calls to check in. Despite Pacho pushing her to cover school violence, Quinlan feels more drawn to the tragic story from her old neighborhood. Ben suspects she has a personal connection to it and encourages her to take control of her program's direction, but Quinlan doubts Pacho will listen. Ben suggests she try to compromise, so she doesn't feel like a puppet in pursuing her dream. At the town meeting, Jeremiah and Shelley listen as Isaac Pierce introduces himself as the new police commissioner, pledging to serve Valley Park. Jeremiah asks if Isaac is a family man, to which he affirms his dedication to both his family and faith. Tension rises when Harley questions Isaac about replacing Finnegan, who's in a coma. Isaac defends his position, stating Finnegan is unfit for the job. After Harley leaves, Jeremiah and Shelley introduce themselves, and Isaac later reassures his wife over the phone that moving to Valley Park will help her fulfill her dreams. Vivian tells Isidore over the phone that it will take time to earn Gianni's trust, and Isidore encourages her to be patient. After the call, Alan walks in and, noticing Vivian's hesitation, asks about her conversation. She reluctantly reveals that Lorenzo gave her half of his shares, leaving Alan confused. Vivian claims Lorenzo isn't in the right state of mind, and when Alan mentions that Isidore has been asking about Lorenzo's behavior, Vivian wonders if Isidore might take advantage. Alan, unsure at first, agrees with Vivian, who then suggests they consider a new plan for the company's future. After a call, Isidore runs into Isabel at the penthouse and expresses relief that she's back at work. Isabel, still mourning, explains she can't grieve in her room forever. When Isidore admits he couldn't stop thinking about her, Isabel questions why he's checking up on her, reminding him they were never really friends, just two young people who dated. Isidore confesses he never stopped loving her, despite knowing she's not ready for a relationship. As they discuss their past and her grief, they share a kiss, only for Pacho to interrupt them. Can't get enough of the crazy world of In Times Like These? Then, treat yourself to a binge watch of In Times Like These. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You're not ready for what's to come, but tune in anyway.